Jason, come here. I'll make room for you here. It's a stress seminar.
Well, I figured that out from the feedback.
I mean, I wasn't sure, dude. Like, some people
Alright,
were illiterate.
I'll get us started. You should have a stress rating, like feedback sheet, just like one note sheet or one tile, like Scrabble tile. We're good there? Alright, so the idea of this session is to make stress your friend, okay? And that's the title. And just a quick show of hands, how many people in the last year have had no stress? No stress? How about moderate stress? Okay. How many people would have high stress?
This is like...
Okay, so if you look around, a lot of people have their hands up for high stress. So there's a couple of things I would say. One is, you're not the only one. Because sometimes we think we're feeling stressed because we're inadequate, and we can't get things done, or we procrastinate, but a lot of people have high stress. So just realize it's normal. So I want to back up though and start with the brain. The more I do research on anything, the more I realize the power of the brain. So they did this research. They went to people who clean hotel rooms and they asked them, what kind of physical shape are you in? And every one of the 500 said, I'm in bad shape. So they broke them up, 250 in the control group, and they gave them a booklet showing how exercise is good for you. The other 250, what they did is they said, do you realize by picking up the bags, by pushing heavy carts, by walking around the hotel, that in the course of working, you have done a workout for the day, so that you're really in good shape. And then they did one other thing. They showed them how many calories they burned. Okay, a month later, control group that got the information, no change. The informed group that was told that they were exercising, lost weight, lower blood pressure, and liked their job more. So nothing changed in their life except the way they thought about their job. And that, I think, is how powerful our mind is. So our mind is so strong that if we think a certain way, we can change the physiological parts of our body. Now, that's not to say you could say, I'm working out right now, and you're going to get stronger. But it is to say, when you think about things in a different way, that you'll get different results. So, they then did this stress test. They took 30,000 adults across the United States and they asked them two questions. The first question was, rate your stress, like I just did. And then the second one was, do you believe stress is good or bad for you? So the bad news, 43% of the people who had high stress died within 8 years. But the more important news is nobody who thought stress was good for you died. As a matter of fact, people who thought stress was good for you lived and was more healthy than people who had low or moderate stress. So the takeaway is, stress isn't bad for you. Thinking stress is bad for you. Thinking stress is bad for you. Okay? So, if you looked at the top causes of death, thinking stress is bad would relate as the 15th biggest killer in the United States. So, I think when you get this, you realize we got to change our mindset about stress. And the first thing is to acknowledge the stressful event. Okay? And so yesterday, I'm having computer problems. I borrowed Mr. Stranathan's computer. I could not find this presentation. And I started to panic. But then I just started to say, this is good, because what it's making me do is rethink the presentation, do it over, change it. So I try to look at it as a more stressful event, as a positive. And then use the energy that stress gives you to hit your goals. Because stress does energize you. And then I'm trying to do this, is tell people stress is good. And I try to tell students that, even on Facebook, when someone says, oh, I'm stressed out, I'll say, that's good. Because stress is good for you. So I'd like to take a minute and just write down all the things that give you stress. It could be schoolwork, it could be friends, it could be your job, whatever gives you stress, just take a minute and write it down.
Well, I sent you the purple one looking for. Okay. What do you think I asked you to write down all your stressors? Why would I ask you that?
So we're not thinking of stress in an abstract way, but we're actually putting a picture in your head.
Okay, so you have your stressors down in front of you. Anyone else? So when anyone share any of their stress things, feel comfortable sharing one or any of yours?
Oh, mine are probably more abstract, but I put down deadlines, irresponsibility, simultaneous demands, opposite pulls, lack of preparedness or confidence, distrust, egos, authoritarianism, and non-creative demands.
Okay. Anyone else?
College.
Okay, college. That's a good one. Anyone else have
Grades.
grades? So that'd be like school, right?
Yeah.
Anything else? Steve?
Every students of mine don't know, grading student labs, writing observations up, writing student recommendations. When I rush from work to coaching my kids during the week, and trying to troubleshoot problems with our boat when I don't know much about a boat.
Okay. Anyone else? Go.
I'm sure Stephanie feels this too, the Griffin.
Okay.
Major source of stress
All
all the
right.
time.
One of the things I'd ask you is, take all those stressors out of your life. Do you have much of a life left?
No.
So, I guess one of the things I'm trying to say is that stress is good. Like, you stress over things that are important to you usually, and that they're part of our life. And if we, some people say, I wish I had no stress, and that's in a way saying, I wish I had no life. So, again, with the change mindset, how do we show personal strengths during these times? And what do we learn from these stressful situations? So if you look at your list now and just like reflect for a minute or two and think, what personal strengths do we use during these stressful situations? And what do we learn from these stressful situations? I'll give you 2 minutes to just reflect on that. Jason, how stressed does Stephanie include you on your list, her list all the time? I call her out every time she does it.
It's true. Sometimes he puts you in his list because I don't.
Sort of counterpart of this one here, except it's you saying things instead of me.
All the things I call you stressed just Stephanie around for.
All right, anyone for answering either one of these?
I guess kind of like sometimes when you're in like a really stressful situation, like focus itself is like a strength that kind of gets you through it. Like if you're able to like clear your mind and focus on one thing without any distractions like your cell phone and other things like that, like you're able to, I don't know, overcome the stressful situation much easier.
Okay, so for you, personal strength that shines through is focus, right?
Yeah.
Okay, anyone else? Personal strengths are things you learn from these situations when you're stressed?
Time management.
Okay, time management. Anyone else? Things, go ahead.
Bus 5566 is here in front of the cafeteria, the replacement for 5727. It's in front of the cafeteria.
That's exciting.
Sometimes just knowing that you can't change it, like, because there's no point in getting upset about it or stressing about it if there's nothing you can do about it.
Okay,
So like a lot of those would be for things in the future, like worrying about what will happen right now won't change anything.
okay, good. Anyone else? Sure.
I think I usually try to put things in the mindset, like the Griffin's sort of a good example of this, is that if I'm really stressed out about something, I remind myself that it's like not going to last forever. Like with the Griffin, there's a deadline, so I know if I can make it to that point, then it's going to pass over and then I can move on to something else.
And somehow it's going to be great, right? Because the paper always ends up great. Okay.
For my strengths, I said when I get into stress mode, it makes me a better problem solver, more creative, and more resourceful.
Okay, great. Anyone else? Okay, so stress does a lot of good things for us. So there's two kind of stress mindsets. There's the negative, stress is negative and should be avoided at all costs. And then there's the stress is positive and should be embraced. Now, they did again surveys and they found out people who said stress is positive and should be embraced were more satisfied, had better well-being, and lived a more meaningful life. And I think more meaningful life makes sense because when you're stressed, you're juggling a lot of balls, so there's a lot of meaning to your life. So again, it adds to that positive mindset. All right, I'm wondering, are we going to be able to play? But we're going to try. So here, everyone has a letter. So here's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to make a word with the other people in the room that has at least 2 letters in the word. Okay?
Where are the vowels?
Wait, you don't have a
I hope they're there.
8. That's what I said. Seat.
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 Mhm.
Seat.
There's a couple of them.
Neat. Seat. And that'll work.
You're the English teacher. If you accept it, I'm.
Sure, there you go.
Neat.
We could also do taste it. There's another T.
No.
Or tug, or
There we go. One minute.
Neat as. As. There we go.
As
Sane.
You guys got a word
Seems
back
good.
there?
We have
Yeah.
multiple words.
Multiple.
Well,
All right.
figure it
So,
nice.
what word do you guys have?
Sane.
Sane.
And at.
Sane and apt.
Seat.
What abbreviation did you guys go with?
Oh, well, we have a VD, which apparently is an abbreviation for venereal disease.
Oh, okay.
You got the high point letter,
And
but
you
it's not
guys?
get you apart.
Dug and fat. Okay, so that's level one. That's kind of the easiest level in our game. The second level would be. All right, I'm just kidding. It's not that. The second level is make a word with more points in it than the word you just made. So if you look at your Scrabble points, make the next word
So I guess we
with more points
We made more
in
than
it.
2 with 4.
And you remember you can use those guys too. All right,
One with more than 4.
you got a minute.
Alright, I got a 4.
Does anyone have a T?
I have 4 on there.